welcome Mike Colomb, and Kinder Group, and of course me, Joe. Marty. Let me check the feed. All right, sounds good. We'll start the timer and hopefully get some viewers in here. Now's the time to share it out. We got 2 minutes. And we got 6 people already, so that's good. So help us out tonight. Share out the show. This is Joe Charter, and Michael Mankinder, and Mike Colomb, Reese Hartlight. That's a real last name. I gotta ask you. Must be one of those, like a weatherman. And if I was a weatherman, that'd be Joe Sunshine. Just 1 minute left, folks, and so please share out the show. I'm sharing it out now to my profiles. So, may the force be with you all. Seconds. Here we go. All right, we're gearing down. All right, so you guys are all on screen, and welcome everybody to the Mankinder Network, mankinder.net, and we've got Mike Colomb and Arit and myself here, and I'll come on camera in a little bit, but here we are. So perfect. Wow, that intro.
Thanks, Joe, for warming us up. It's awesome. Thanks, Joe. All the way from Iowa in the heartland of the United States, whereas the other 3 of us are in California, the oft reviled left coast of the United States. Mike Colomb has been a hero to the health and freedom movement for quite some time. He really broke out in about March of 2021, thanks to the Freedom Angels and Renette Senham and Dr. Andrew Kaufman and others with whom he was webcasting the revolutionary concepts of private membership, aka incorporated associate, which folks can protect their property and their lives, their freedom, their health, etc., etc. And we've been in contact since not too long after that. But I originally revered Mike as the guru up north, and I had my own associate for whom I was doing marketing, Jackie Fig. She set up my PMA in the first week of June 2021 and then died in a plane crash about 40 days later, which turned my life upside down. And through many twists and turns, I've been looking at all the various methodologies and people confusing, and it seems like we're coming back to the realization that my instinct was right. Mike seems to have stuff together, but still there have been several challenges made by people that I really respect. And you know, we all have to, if we're truthers, we have to do the truth. We have to make sure that stuff works. And if our stuff doesn't work, I personally like to be the first guy to say, hey, I made a mistake. I can fix it. Or I'm sorry, let's do better. Let's pull together and find what really works. Um, but there's been so much novelty and innovation within this realm, even though these principles are ancient. Uh, Folks aren't familiar with them. So, Mike, I'm going to give it to you. Tell us a little bit quickly about, well, I'll say one more thing quickly. Mike is not just a guy who's offering paperwork. He's a real businessman who has experience applying these concepts. So he was about to leave pardon me, left coast California because of government regulations, because he was about to start up a brewery, and the regulations were so onerous, so expensive, $1 million worth of renovations, that he bought property in another state and was ready to leave until his wife convinced him, you know, this COVID chaos thing that's going on, the area, Nevada City, Nevada County kind of area, Northern California, needs a general store where people can shop without, you know, muzzling and fear and control. And so he stuck it out. God bless him, stuck it out, figured it out that there are ways of us taking our power back. All right, that's enough babble for me. Mike.
I was under duress, by the way. I'll make that clear up front. That it wasn't for my doing to stay here by no means. I was retiring and moving to South Dakota and kind of hunt and fish and play with my youngest boy on our farm and our ranch for the rest of my life, right? And just enjoy the country, take the grandchild route around the country in our motorhome and go see everybody. And that was going to be my life. And Vanessa asked me to stay here and fight. So we did. Yeah. And boy, what a fight we've done. And it's amazing the things that you learn along the way, the people you meet along the way, and the people and businesses that we get to help along the way. And it's been an amazing adventure. So, we wrapped up into our first PMA in March of 21. And actually we did it, and we went forward in January, and then March of 21 is when we actually opened up the Renegade Ranch Provisions grocery store. And we saw it an early on huge success across the country. Yeah, we had 700 plus members within days of opening, and people that just didn't want to go and be bothered by the communist grocery stores and to go and have to put on a mask and listen to all the people. And we opened it for a few reasons, right? And one of them was because when we go to do something, you don't go to the grocery store to be harassed by people and complain and listen to and experience the arguments that happen in that, right? So we got caught on that right away and began with the grocery store. So that's where we are. And here we are a couple and a half years ahead of that, and just kicking butt. It's like I was moving to South Dakota to retire. Ended up staying here. I'm a contractor. Own multiple different companies, and disillusioned. Didn't want to be here. And then kind of looked at what reality was, and my reality involves God, and God told me to sit down, shut up, and do what I was told to do, and that was to start helping people with PMAs for themselves. And that's the direction we went. And it's been a wonderful experience from that day forward. Every day, it's tough days, great days, but just way better place than we were before. And I thank God for that, and my wife for that, for putting me in this position. So we're here to talk about some of the things and misinformation across the board, right, with PMAs. And it's been a lot, and it started a long time ago, way before this, the Marketing Employee Manifesto group came up, and with David Edwards. And one of the things that David did and does throughout all the PMAs that he put in place, he basically would build your document for you, and then you really didn't have a lot of interaction with David from that point forward. And his whole idea was that people need to go out and educate themselves and learn, and he gave you the basic tools to start doing that. And I started that experience and that idea before I even became a PMA, for that month or whatever before, in educating myself. I read hundreds of hours of stuff. I probably read more hours in that first get-go of time than most of the affiliates have to all the way through today, right? And then, put a couple hundred or a couple years on top of that, got thousands of hours of reading stuff and learning about the Constitution and our protections, how and why and what we're allowed to do in PMA, what we can't do, and all those things that go along with it. So when this marketing ploy came up, I just kind of looked at it and shook my head, and it's a sad day that happens, because they're working on fear with people. They're fear mongers working to extract more money from people who are already in a bad position potentially, and then to make them afraid of where they are and afraid of not being protected. When David came out, he came out with a few different PMAs, and people will say, well, I have a PEA, or I have a PHA, or I've got an FBO or a PMA, or a church ministry, and those are all the same thing. They're all PMAs, right? So we'll clear that basis up to begin with. They're all private membership associations. Social clubs, it's still a private membership association, right? Might be some different verbiage in there for what you're doing or however you're going to set it up, but all the rest of them, they're all the same. And then until you get into the church structure of what we're doing with a true ministry, right, and actually operating a true church and how that goes. So with David, when he came up, we have our first PMA is an FBO. The grocery store is a faith-based organization, and it still is today. And I've researched and I understand exactly what happens with an FBO, and what I know that I could do to protect that. So early on, oh gosh, it's been well over a year now. I haven't written any FBOs for quite a while, and I had two different clients come to me and ask me, hey, because I offer all the information early on. So before David and the entire group of his affiliates ever even knew about the 14-point bulletin, I introduced that to David because I researched enough to find it, and I found out the rules and regulations, and then, explained that to everybody that we talk to, everybody that is a church-based ministry, and how it operates and the reason it operates. So I had a couple people come to me and ask me, hey, we're looking in the the 508c1a regulation under the 501 code in the IRS on the different websites that they have and the different pamphlets they put out. And it clearly says, church, I mean, I've got it right here in actual verbiage and what it says and how it lays it out. And it's their auxiliaries and their subsidiaries, right, which are there. And there's no mention of a faith-based organization. And if you think and you understand about what a faith-based organization is, every church out there is a faith-based organization. Okay, we all agree on that, right? Now, there's nothing that we can say that it's not, because it's designed and operated and started under faith, right? Every church has a faith, and that's all a faith-based organization. So every faith-based organization, however, is not a church. However, any faith-based organization can be a church. We have to understand that relationship. And I don't think we're arguing about the semantics of what a faith-based organization is and what a church is, because they can intertwine, they can be synonymous. But what happens is that when you're not doing the things that are necessary inside of a church-based ministry, even if you are a complete church 508c1a, if you're not doing the necessary functions in that, then you're at risk. Okay, so a couple of things. Listening to the manifesto and seeing some of the things that are on there. First of all, they claim to study under David Edwards, and I think we already had that discussion. He really never had a program of study for anybody. You studied for yourself, and then you got some advice from him here and there, and he would answer some questions. And then if you watched his videos that he produced with the Freedom Angels and a couple other places, there'd be information on there, but there was never any study done with it. There wasn't any, here's where this is, and let's study that. Let's look at it and understand it, which all of these people don't understand. So early on, after I was a PMA, David saw my experience as a business owner, and we'd had many conversations and grew in friendship with that. And he asked me one time to actually give him some business counseling. So we sat down on a video call for a couple hours and went through his entire business structure and the things that are done in the PMA and what he should do with it. And quite honestly, he pulled a bunch of people who as affiliates, he made them affiliates who had no business experience, didn't understand a PMA, and we're relying on him 100% to teach him what it was, and for him to build an educational program around that to be able to educate them, and then basically to operate in error He had a Facebook group that was set out there with quite a few members on it. And if you ever wanted to get confused, all you needed to go and just go on there, and it can confuse the heck out of you, because there was misinformation back and forth. People claiming to be experts. A lot of the people who weren't even advisors had more and better information than some of the experts had. So at this point in time, when David and I got together, I basically, there was two people he had that I felt were competent enough to be an affiliate. And I told him to get rid of all the rest of them. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. He didn't know how I was going to do it, but it needed to be done. And he never did that. And he actually expanded it from that point and brought other people on. So what happened was, David's not available to answer questions. So all of these people, all the affiliates and all their people that they were putting people into business, into PMAs, and they didn't have any idea what was going on and how to operate it and what was good, what was bad, and all those things. So I'm being bombarded by all of them, plus the people they're putting in on a constant basis for a long, long time, basically until I withdrew myself from that whole thing, to answer their questions for them and to tell them what was right or wrong and what was good advice or bad advice. And then I get things on calls from people that, because a lot of times people end up at my doorstep that have a PMA that somebody else put in place, and they don't have any information on how to operate it, right? And they're trying to run a business. So, and we get them into the Renegade Nation, and we help them through those questions and answers. But it's really imperative, and education has been the primary paramount thing we've done since we started this whole venture, right? This whole adventure in this venture, right, is to educate people, and then to be able to set them up in business for themselves in the private, right? And then to understand what the private really is and the differences between private and public. And over the next, few, months, we're going to be going and breaking this down 100% to be able to show the differences in the things that we can and can't do, and the reasons why we can do those, and the reasons why we can't do things, the reasons why the government can't do things, and the reasons why they can do things. And it's how you operate and what you do, how to protect ourselves. We're gonna make this into a study piece. We're gonna break down the manifesto, and then we're gonna talk about each component as we go forward, item by item. What's real in their idea and what's way off base in their idea. What needs to change in their idea, and the reason why I believe they're in place doing the things they're doing. I've actually had and helped people already today whom have gone to them and had them change their documents from an FBO over to a church-based ministry, and then come to me for help because they still don't know how to operate their business. And we're going to have a community, and we're all in this tribe together, guys. And I'm not putting anything against what they're trying to do. Maybe the way they're going about it might be wrong with the fear that they're putting into people, and which obviously fear captures attention, and then allows people to, be captivated and listen to what you are potentially, and they present themselves well as an authority. And we're going to dissect that authority over the coming months, right? And we're going to dissect their knowledge. And as a group, I'm not going to do individual. I'm not going to talk about anybody individually. They, in my mind, I think it's kind of lousy that they talk about in the beginning of the manifesto on how they went out and they found, and they talked to a bunch of different places, and then they included our names in that, right? And I never had anybody from that group come to me and talk to me about what's going on with any questions, because I would have told them a long time ago. These people wrote FBOs that they're now talking bad about, right? And I don't know how they're handling with their customers, whether they're turning them for free back into it or what they're doing with that. But they wrote a lot of FBOs, and they did it as a group. And now they're going against that, which is fine. I have no issue with that. I'm keeping my FBO because I know that I could protect that in a court, and I know how to not even get to court if I don't want to. They talk about how they've with the 508, how they have people and know of people who have been attacked by the federal government for not being a church in a 508. I put it out there a long time ago. Show me one person that's done that. Show me one business, one PMA that's been attacked by the federal government, and show that to me now today. Right in today's real, here we are today with this, and make sure that it's the correct PMA and all the rest of the things. And I've not had a production of one person or one business. I don't think they're out there. I have not heard of one person being attacked by the federal government. I've heard of plenty with the city, county, and state. I've written hundreds and hundreds of PMAs all across the entire country, in other Puerto Rico, and other territories as well. And I've never heard of one. And everywhere I go and I travel and I speak in circuits across the country, and I've never had one person. And I ask all the time, tell me somebody, and nobody has come to me and told me anything at all. So I don't think they're doing that. And I think there is a concern. There's a fear of that and a concern that, hey, if you don't run your business properly, then you could have that could happen. But it's how you protect, and without the protection and without knowing how to protect, you're just flying by the wind, right? If you open a PMA business and you don't have the support of somebody who knows what they're doing, and not only knows how to operate the PMA, not only knows how to operate a business, and you're out there expecting them to protect you and give you the information you need, and they don't know it themselves, you're in a tough spot. And that's where we are with many, and not just the people that are in the manifesto group doing this, but other affiliates of David Edwards and other people. There's other groups that were writing PMAs way before I became involved in this that don't write good PMAs. They charge a lot of money, and then they claim to be able to help people and support people legally, and they don't, and they can't, and that's a shame, right? And it's just, if you're going to be a PMA, be a PMA today. Oh, and by the way, I meant to mention this a minute ago. I haven't written an FBO PMA in a long time. And I had that conversation with David way back when, and I'm not sure that he continued to write FBOs or not, but I told him, because I had two people reach out to me asking about the PMA, and I knew that they would not be capable of protecting themselves to be able to go forward, and it would involve, other people and their money. So I decided in the PMA team that we would not write FBOs anymore at all. We would only do for-profit PMAs and church-based ministries, period. And if somebody wanted, a PHA or PEA, then that's fine. You can do it as a for-profit or a nonprofit church, period. There is no in-between faith-based. There's too much gray area. And as you go through the code in the IRS is all about gray area. And then this is how they based their primary function of their whole manifesto off of basically the introduction inside of the 508c1a category on this. And we're going to, in our next session, we're going to dissect it and go through it paragraph by paragraph, and then have a deep dive discussion on it. And it's eye-opening, and it's very, very left for broad interpretation. And they've interpreted it in the negative side of it, and that's what they're producing, is the negative fear to have people move from an FBO into a church-based ministry. And quite honestly, my feeling is all you need to do is educate yourself in the FBO, how it operates, and then do the things that are necessary for you to operate that PMA. If your goal was to be, and one of the things I never did, and I'll back up this, but one of the things I never did was I never put anybody into an FBO or a church-based ministry that was doing it for only taxes. One of my main requirements is that you're going to do this. It needs to be for the protections we get as a PMA, which are important. And that's the founding portion of what a PMA is all about. It's not about not paying taxes. There are plenty of ways to help yourself with taxes, whether you're a nonprofit and or just an individual, right? And we can discuss those further on down in the coming months about, how to protect yourself with that and the things that we can do and help you with. But as far as the PMA, we only do the for-profit and the nonprofit 508c1a, and I've been very strict from the very beginning of doing those, that we do them in a church-based ministry, and we do them. We hold ourselves accountable to that 14-point criteria the IRS puts out. Another thing I think is really important. I watched some kid on I don't remember what channel it was, on Rumble maybe, or I don't know where it came from, but somebody sent it to me, and I watched this video of this kid talking about how a C1A, you can't operate as a C1A anyway without being a 501. So he's saying that if you want to be a 508C1A, you need to be a 501 first, and then graduate to that. And he's totally off his rocker. He has no idea what he's talking about. And I'll have a debate with him any day of the week about that and show him the proof of that, and how I want to know how and what he's thinking to be in that spot, because he's off base. And so any questions we can kind of maybe tie up and close the gap on here while we're still there.
He's still nursing.
Thanks,
so
Mike. Yeah, this is a.
Yeah, but Babyface is still nursing, so we'll cut him.
Is that what you call him, Babyface?
That's what I call him.
Yes.
Yeah, I was talking to my wife and I told when I was explaining to the guy, I told her, I said, I'm sure he's so young, he probably doesn't even know he's alive yet. So, but if he wants to reach out, I'm happy to talk to him and we can go over the things and I can show him why a 508(c1) does qualify. It's a mandatory exception. It's not, the IRS has no ability to tell you that you can be one or not one. They can't take it away or give it to you. It's something you claim. And with that in mind, and knowing what an actual mandatory exception is, that's kind of the basis of the rule with it. So,
Well, I'm not going to judge by age or any superficial qualities, because great truth can come from someone under any circumstances. So, we can tease, but we're also listening. And
Jesus was 33 when he was out there, right? So,
there you go.
33 is pretty young. Yeah.
So there are some questions here, and we're going to address lots more in the forthcoming weeks. Mike is going to do this somehow magically with us every Thursday at 5 p.m. California time. And then you also have your Wednesday calls for your own people, and I look forward to joining that. I just learned about that.
Oh, it's for anybody that wants to get in at all. And it doesn't even have to be, you don't have to be a member of the Renegade Nation. You don't have to be, you just need to be curious about PMAs, right? PMAs, ROEs, and or trusts.
Or certainly are.
Constitutional law, doesn't matter.
So let's riff through these questions. We're probably going to go over our half hour a little bit, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. So we've got a few questions from our guests here. How do PMAs differ from trusts? Simple answer.
Well, first of all, a PMA is not, in the government's mind, a legal entity, right? It's an unincorporated association. So in that, when you set up a business as a PMA, you don't want to put any assets into it because there's no protection. Okay. So in a corporation, LLC, and a trust, there's that separation of ownership because your entity, you don't own it anymore. So in a PMA, if you put, your property, your business property, and you have a lot of stuff and a lot of inventory or whatever, or machinery, you put it in your PMA. If something happens, somebody can come directly to you through the PMA and take claim to some of your items, right? Some of your products and goods or products and services, your stuff, right? And then they have that claim that they can do that because it's open. When you have products and inventory or land or whatever valuables inside of a trust, an LLC or a corporation, then it's separated because it's a different entity. You don't own it personally. You don't own it. So that's how and why. So there's a lot of difference. You can operate, and we do private trust all the time. They're common law, natural law, private trust, irrevocable, and you can operate that as a business. We have some of our clients are operating as a business, and most aren't. Most do it for asset protection. But you can fully operate businesses in them. You can couple them with LLCs. You can couple them with PMAs, depending on how you want to structure it. So I hope that answered the question.
You bet. Thank you. What is the tax reporting on an FBO or PMA?
Well, if the FBO is ran as a church, then there is no reporting. On a for-profit, it is a for-profit, and you're reporting just like you would as a regular corporation or an LLC.
And it's an interesting question. What is preferred, nonprofit or profit?
When you say preferred, I mean, it's the individuals, what they're willing to do, right? And I go through a sequence, when we talk about what has to be done with that 14-point list, we break it down item by item with people if they choose to, and most do. And it's a matter of what they want to do. So it's personal preference. Just kind of give you an idea that probably 95% of my PMAs are nonprofit and about 5% are for-profit, and maybe not even 5%, maybe 2 or 3%. So
what's your experience with doing taxes? Got it.
With doing taxes?
What's your experience doing estate taxes or income taxes due to death?
Well, you need to have your stuff in a trust, and then you don't have to worry about the probate and all the rest of that garbage. Basically, if you set up everything properly, there should be no taxable event when someone dies.
Well, what if you're
And
trying to make
so
arrangements after the fact?
Yeah, I'm not a CPA and or attorney. Yeah, we'll just make that clear up front. If so, after the fact, so somebody's already died and you have assets that are not in a trust, then you're probably going to end up going through probate.
What is the advantage of creating a nonprofit after forming a PMA?
So, and I've had people do this where they have a PMA and then they want to turn it into a nonprofit. Yeah, because and typically the individual was not confident in doing the church-based ministry, and then over time became confident in doing that and having it changed over. So, and you can go, you can, that's not an issue whatsoever. I have people who have church-based ministerial documents with a church-based ministry, ecclesiastically, the whole bit, it's all protected and everything. And they file and pay taxes every year because that's what they choose to do. Right. So it's a personal preference, right? However you want to run it.
All right. I want to, yes, Ruita has a lot of questions, and justifiably so. Ruita has been very gracious and kind with Mankinder, and her mother passed away recently, and so she's going through a lot right now. So we thank her for joining us and look forward to helping as much as we possibly can. Mike has experience also with national status, the status correction topic, as well as allodial titles, aka land patents. So there's a lot to cover. We will be here every Thursday at 5 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. EST. And the right way to get it, make sure you're on the list. I'm actually going to start using my mailing list and get Mike to use his. And that is sendfox.com/mankinder. And we will be keeping in touch with everyone and also notifying you how you can get onto Mike's Wednesday calls.
Yep, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's the question. How do we get on the Wednesday calls?
So the best way to do that would be to email me. And what I'm going to do is next time I'll actually have the link. We'll put the link up here in place, and then you can just jump on the link. And we use the same link every week. So every Wednesday at 3 Pacific, same link across the board. And what I'll do is I'll send you, Michael, I'll send you the link, and then next time just populate it and we'll be good.
Beautiful. Last question popped in. What do you think of dual citizenship, or does it not matter if one is a national?
So my view, and this is a long conversation, right? My view is that none of us are citizens unless you were born in or live in Washington, D.C., work for the federal government, or get paid by the federal government. We're not U.S. citizens because we don't live in Washington, D.C., which is a corporation that's chartered and belongs in Washington, D.C. And that's not my information. That's information from the IRS and the federal government. You know, they'll tell you straight up, this is where we're at. We are citizens of the United States of America, right? With the Republic, which is what we are. We are not U.S. citizens. And it's hard to grasp that idea until you read their own doctrine and their own rules and regulations that explain it right to you, as you go through it. And then when you understand that, you realize that. So I think becoming an American state national or a state national or a status correction, which is what I call it, I'm doing a UCC1 filing, all those different things are all different ways and different ideas and programs that individual people teach and help people through. I kind of taken a collective of many of those and put them together for my own system that I'm doing, and I'm working with that. So I've been studying for over 2 years now, and my biggest advice and thing that I say is one of my mottos, right, is stay within your pain tolerance, right? In anything that you do, stay inside of your pain tolerance, and that means different things for different people. I have a high pain tolerance, and I drew a line in the sand. You come across that line, and I'm coming at you, right? We're gonna make it painful for you. And that's just how I am, right? Not everybody's there. One of my pain tolerances that I didn't do yet was the American State National or the State National or correcting my status. I've been studying for a couple of years, and I wanted to make sure that I had the time to do it. And that was my biggest pain tolerance, is not having enough time. And now I've got the time for the last many months now, and I've been studying like crazy. My affidavit is done. I'm going through a program right now, an equity class course, and as I go through that, then my processes will begin, and we'll take care of that stuff. But and if somebody goes through the program and never becomes a state national or never corrects their status, it's a wonderful thing, because what they've gained out of the knowledge that's given in learning what happens and where we are today as people, as a person, as a sovereign person, is amazing, right? And it's eye opening, and everybody should understand that and know it, whether you become and change your status or not.
I heard that Manhattan is also part of the U.S. Do you have any knowledge of that?
Yeah, somebody might say that or think it or something that might be related to it, but if you go into the IRS and also the United States, you go into all the different codes and statutes and regulations, you're going to see that the United States specifically, it tells you that it's inside of the 10-mile square radius of District of Columbia. So I'd like to see that. And I'm never somebody anymore. I used to be. My wife used to tell me, she's a conspiracy theorist, and she used to tell me all these wacko things, and I'd just laugh at her and tell her to go play with her friends. And they all started happening, right? And then you get on board with that. And so I've changed my initial reaction to all those things and saying there's no way that it is. My thing now is show me the proof. I want to see it, right? So if somebody says that and has an idea of it or has something they can back up and give it to me, I want to read it. I want to see it. And then I'll take it for face value of what it is. But I know that in the IRS website, in the state or the federal documents, it says it's Washington, D.C. as in the District of Columbia.
Right on. All right. Well, we will answer more questions next week, and we'll keep going. There's a lot to cover.
Can't wait.
What time next week is it going to be, Michael?
5 o'clock PST, 8 p.m. EST. Keep in touch.
Same day?
Same
Okay,
date,
so
same channel.
Thursday. Okay.
Yep.
So
thanks all.
Yep.
Yeah, have a great day. Thanks so much, Michael. Take care, guys. Thanks for everybody being here, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mike.
Stay kind, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.